Hi, good evening. My name is Pankaj Puri and I'm the marketing head with Pranav Doors and Windows. We are premium partners with Shuku and it's complete honor to be here with one of the best and renowned architect, Mr. Badrinath from Studio RDT. And it's an honor, sir, to be with you today. And it's a wonderful project that we have seen today. So, just wanted to know, first of all, I would love to ask you about your initial education and life. How was your childhood?
Thank you, Pankaj ji, for having here and organizing this. It's really nice of you, and it's like we always been working with Pranav Doors, I think, for almost for 12 years now, and we've been continuously working. So they keep on supporting us in various projects. It's really nice to have you. So basically, like for me, I think architecture was an like sometimes life is always about a few things that happen accidentally, and it so happened that this was in one of the accident which just happened because probably I never knew what architect used to do even when I was like 17, 18 years of age. So it was more like because I grew up in a understanding, okay, civil engineers made all of it buildings. So something like an architect for me never existed till my early childhood and even till I think 17, 18 years. So it was more about like because we studied from IIT Roorkee, and so it was more about after eighth or ninth, the student is all about getting into IIT. It doesn't matter what you where which profession you're into, but it's all about getting into IIT. So I was in that put into that particular race of cracking JE and this entire process way back then. So during that time when it so happened when I got a rank and I was told, okay, this rank will get you to certain things, will not get you to certain things. And then I was looking at what options. The first time I saw it was in a prospectus of an IIT that there's something called as an architecture. It so happened then somebody actually told me about architecture and he convinced me to take up this particular thing, which whatever he told about architecture doesn't make sense to me today. But whatever he said back then was enough for me to convince that, okay, I should take this leap of faith and get into architecture. Because I never wanted to be engineer by choice because I always wanted to choose something more creative. But my mother always wanted me to study from an IIT, and that was the only thing she would always tell me that you should study from IIT. So this was one point where I can be study from IIT, but yet not be an engineer. So was architecture.
So it's a wonderful fact to be honest, because I was just going through your profile and how good and how better it is to be architect by accident and getting into the IIT and scoring a gold medal for yourself.
So basically, like end of the day, when it is more about when you get into there, when I've been fortunate to meet right people, and when they actually told me the purpose of architecture and what value it can add to humanity. So then it was about trying to do give the best, and most of the time, many a things, most careers are made in colleges, and most artists are made in colleges. So it so happened that yes, like we were got exposed to it, and yes, it was the process of it. Even if you would have not got a gold medal, but still we would have still be doing something similar to what we have been doing. So it just happened in the process of it, I would only say. but
Wonderful.
but being by an accident or design, it again is a it's a difficult question because I always life was always like happening and it's like an accidental to me. I don't know if I could have been designed as an architect because sometimes if you're watching a movie where you know the pattern of a movie, it might be more you can be more involved, but at the same time it could be boring. But if you are in a movie where you don't know what you're expecting, it's constantly changing, it feels more interesting, and that's how life is.
And what were your favorite subjects when you were a kid or a student?
So, like mostly people believe, like people remember things which they don't like and they like. For example, there are a few things which never worked for me, like certain subjects, like for example, Hindi as a child never worked for me. So I literally had to learn Hindi when I was in college
Oh my
because
God.
I come from the southern part of India where primarily our communication language are Telugu and English, but to learn a different language of a different this thing for regular thing was, and I really like learning languages and I still keep doing it even today.
I've been told that you are learning Punjabi and you are learning it very well. So, Do you conversate in Punjabi?
So it is again, things are as per the need of hour, because the first time when I got to have a direct interaction, to intense and to way to communicate, was at a site in Punjab where I have to communicate my idea and the person only can speak Punjabi. So that was a kind of a roadblock. And end of the day, it's something like, for me, it is like, if the whole passion is about to deliver what we have designed and as a product, to make it happen, whatever it takes, we are ready for it. Even it is taking about learning a language or something.
And who were your role models when you were in your college? And any changes as of now?
So I've been like, because as an architect, because we have been always taught about, because in architecture, because most of the time it is more about a person, it's about philosophy of a person. So like, engineers don't need to learn about other engineers, but architects do need to learn about other architects, and architects who have transformed the way we look at things. And even like, we being in a city like Chandigarh, where it has been done one of the master architects of its time. So it is always important to learn about, and I was fortunate enough to get mentorship across various architects across Japan, Italy, France, and in Australia. So my role models even today, like for example, would be like Zahari, who has always been an inspiration. Out of the people currently working, big architects is one practice which we look up to. And yes, like, people who have mentored me, who have helped me, whom I am today, were always like our role models. And yes, with time, it's always about whom we already seen as idols. And it is always about, rather than it's about the architect, it's about the craft itself. Any kind of architecture piece, even done by a new architect, but done as phenomenally well, is an inspiration.
Wonderful. So it's a long journey that you have come across, and where do you, you know, place yourself now, and what are your future plans?
I think things happen step by step. I think where we are today, we are fortunate to be where we are in terms of what we could do in the past. Like, we could, because as always, our practice was always as an inquiry into things where we could do out of common understanding, and where we could push ourselves to do something beyond what is commonly acceptable. So this inquiry is a continuous process where we always try to play outside our comfort zone, and to a point where there is a culture around in our office where it is about uh, we will figure it out. So it is always about, because when you're for us, every project is like more like a case to be solved. So every time, though we would have certain knowledge, but every time the challenges are, because we always create those new challenges. Once we create those new challenges, we push ourselves to make it. Yes, and that's why most of the time when we do our work, it's about constant improvisation. We don't start off with something that is created and they just we follow. We always keep the door open for improvisation.
So you have done some wonderful landmark projects, and we are so privileged to be part of the journey whilst supplying doors and windows, facades for the projects. I happened to shoot a project, the Ribbon Out, and its builder Abhijit Singh happens to be the owner. So it's a wonderful project. I mean, one of its kind, awarded by many magazines. So how the idea came up, and how was it? How was the journey about that particular project? Any other favorite projects that you have?
So for that particular project, it was like we've been working with him, I think, for the past around 8 to 9 years. So as I said, it was always an inquiry. When we first started, we did it at his office. I think that time, even Pranav Doors did some doors and windows, even in that particular small office. So in that office, when we started working on that time, we started experimenting with concrete, ultra slim thick concrete, which were 2 inches in distance. So when we executed that 2 inch thick concrete, we had a certain confidence. We used that confidence to then we built Hexalace, Never Never Cube, and further other projects. So we kept on increasing the complicacy to an extent where we can handle, because we always think that the in terms of design, the potential to think something which is very fascinating is pretty wide. but the potential to actually build something is only very less compared to very, because as we can imagine things on AI and a lot of other parameters, but once it comes to getting it to be built in reality with real parameters in terms of cost, time, and everything, there is a certain limitation or a certain flexibility that it allows. But having said that, this was one project where we could push it even further to the extent where we think that because we have done complicated projects, now we can handle it because of the kind of synergy we share with him, the kind of project we can work around. So that was the initial idea to push it. Because that's the reason, because many a times when we design it, we in the day one, if you ask me like how do we build it, we'll always be like we'll figure it out. And that was the idea, and the expression of how concrete has been changed, and it has been pretty unique even at a global level where we have been covered with UK media, a lot of other things. So this one project has been very interesting, and that's how I think we find our dopamine in projects when we do, where we challenge ourselves. And because if we have to do a lot of work that we have done in the past in a similar way, probably like most of us, we wouldn't have that energy to push it into it.
So thank you so much for the insights, and we wish you all the very best. And we are privileged, rather this region feels privileged to have good architects like you, so that we see all those beautiful buildings and projects. Thank you so
Thank you.
much, sir. Thank you.